This conference will now be recorded.
So let's do a quick recap again. So I can go see. So this is how we are doing things out right now. We are saying that every time a developer wants to make a change, he needs to commit using a feature branch. And after committing using a feature branch, what should happen, guys? Anyone? So I'm using a feature branch right now. I have raised the PR. PR is approved. It is merged. What is next? CD or CI? CI pipeline. What should the CI pipeline give me? What do I do with the artifact? Release pipeline. Then I'm using ARM templates and etc. in order to release the artifact out there. Now, one thing is that when I'm saying that I have a CI pipeline, let's say for .NET Core or .NET Full Framework, anything. Where is this pipeline running? On a pool. Which agent is it running now? Which is agent it is running on? Yes, Azure pipelines. Or
Hosted.
I'm also telling, or I'm also calling this as a hosted agent. It's a hosted agent on which this is running. And you can have one hosted agent at one time. Meaning, let's say there are 100 developers in your project. Everyone is working parallelly. Everyone is raising the commit. When the first developer does a pull request, you will have the build pipeline getting triggered. The build pipeline is still going on. The second developer does a commit. What will happen? Anyone? What is going to happen right now? Are you all understanding the question? I have a first developer who's doing a commit, raising a PR, build pipeline got triggered. Build pipeline takes somewhere around 15 minutes. Second developer within that 15 minutes did a PR, did a commit. Will the same build pipeline trigger again? You should have to wait 15 minutes, meaning something like this. I'm queuing this out, and again I'll come here, same pipeline. I'll say run pipeline. I'll say go back, and I'll say again run pipeline. So I'm simulating runs out here. So what is happening? The pipeline that got triggered first is running. The second will wait, third will again wait, and until this pipeline is free, the last pipeline will not trigger. So they are getting in a queue, first in, first out. This is whenever you trigger a first pipeline, that will basically get completed first. Now I'm just triggering three. Imagine there are hundreds of developers who are working parallelly on the same pipeline. Now imagine the 100th developer. When will his turn come to build his changes? It'll take a lot of time, right? Also, it is not advisable to use an Azure hosted agent. Azure hosted agents, yes, they are free in nature and etc. But it has all these limitations that your pipeline has to wait, and the capacity of the agent is not that great. The capacity of the agent is limited. This is where I ask Azure is that, you know what? What if this capacity is not sufficient for me to run the build pipeline? What if I want to go for, let's say, something greater or something higher? Because I have 100 developers who are like running those builds parallelly and all. I want the parallel development to happen. I don't want this to happen like this. I want a parallel development to happen. That's where Microsoft tells you that, okay, fine, if you're trying to do something like that, go for a self-hosted agent. Very commonly used in the real-time scenarios, and very oftenly asked interview question is that, what do you know about agents? How many types of agents are there? Did you work with self-hosted agent? And mostly in a real-time environment, we use self-hosted agents. Then what do you need for a self-hosted agent, guys? Anyone? Hosted agent is Microsoft. Microsoft is giving me a virtual machine. What do I need for a self-hosted agent then? We need to create a virtual machine. So let's do that. Let's come back to the Azure portal. And firstly, I'll go ahead and create a resource group and then a virtual machine inside it. I'll say it is VMRG ECS2. Review and create this out. It's a Windows Server 2019. This is something that I'm using right now. I'll say this is agent machine, agent VM, some random name to it. ES2S2. Giving a ID password here. Enabling ports like HTTP, HTTPS, and RDP. I'll say review and create. So I'm just creating the virtual machine out here, okay? It'll take about a minute or two. And while this virtual machine is getting created, the question here now is that I need to follow some strategy to convert this virtual machine into an agent. Into what? A self-hosted agent, right? How do I convert it? How do I establish a connection between this agent and Azure DevOps? How do I do that? What is the process? It's like, let's go here. Let's go into something known as a project setting. And let us go into something known as agent pools. In the agent pool, you have something what? Azure pipelines that is right now running a build, meaning this is the self-hosted, sorry, this is the hosted pool, Microsoft hosted. And you have something called as a default pool. Let's go into the default. Let's see agent. Now it says you have one agent offline and etc. Like this was created way back and I've like not deleted this out. So let me delete this out. So this is where I am. Nothing. I have nothing in my agent pool out here, meaning in my self-hosted, I don't have anything. What I will do here is just come back and I'll create a new pool. Okay, you can use the same pool or you can create a new pool. I'll say new pool as a new pool out here and I'll say it is self-hosted pool. And I'll say this is a test pool, something like this. And I'll say grant access to all the pipelines. Say create the pool. As in when I create the pool, if I go inside this pool, let's say delete this out. Like we had a couple of agents, so that's the reason it's getting reflected. Now you do not have anything. It says okay, fine. This is the agent pool. Do you want to go ahead and create a new agent? I'll say yes, I want to create a new agent. Now it tells okay, fine, you know what? In order to create a new agent, you will have to download this particular file. It's a zip file that you get. So download this particular file, go on top of the virtual machine, wherever you want to run it, and execute these commands. Okay. This will help you create an agent out here. But very importantly, this is a machine that is running on portal.azure.com. You can have it running on AWS, GCP, wherever you want, not a problem. Now, don't you think that this machine right now does what? It's helping you run pipelines. So, is it not communicating with Azure DevOps? it is, then how does Azure DevOps authenticate that this is the right agent? Service connection is for portal.azure.com, not the agent. For the agent, in order to establish an authentication between Azure DevOps and this particular virtual machine, we generate something called as a PAT token, or otherwise known as personal access token. How do I generate it? Just come here. You have this gear icon, right? User settings. Go into the user setting. You have something what? Personal access tokens. I'm saying add a new token. I'll say this is a token for agent. I'll say okay, fine. I can basically set it out to, let's say, something like 90 days. And for now, I'll say full access. And I'll say create a token. You'll have the token here. Once you refresh it, this will go away. I'm just copying this out, placing it here. That's it. Now what I'll do is like I'll do an RDP into this machine. So I've generated what? A personal access token. So let's write down the steps for ease. The very first step is what? Created an agent pool. Firstly, we'll talk about agent pool. This is on dev.azure.com side. This is DevOps. Create an agent pool. Second step, what I'm doing is that I'm saying, okay, fine. We'll need to create a PAT token. So we have a PAT token with 90-day window. And on portal.azure.com, I will say I have first created a virtual machine, creating a VM, doing an RDP inside that particular virtual machine, RDP into the VM. After RDP, let's see what I'll do and etc. So taking the IP, so let's give the ID and password here. Giving the ID and password and say boot into this particular virtual machine. Now what I need to do is that I generated a personal token in Azure DevOps. Now the third step is that I need to download the agent file. From where do I download that? Into the project, project settings, agent pools. So project settings, agent pools, into the pool that I need, new agent. I need to download this. Now there is two things out here that I want to do out here is that I want to download it on my computer, then transfer it to the agent or transfer it to the virtual machine, which will take a lot of time. So what I'll do instead is that I log into dev.azure.com from the virtual machine and download it directly there. Okay, it's easier. I can download it on I can download it my system. I'll need to copy and paste it. Downloading itself will take about 5 to 6 minutes. Copy and pasting again will take about 5 to 6 minutes. Instead of which we can just go ahead onto the virtual machine and directly download it. Okay. So I'm inside the virtual machine. Let's say local server and disable IE enhanced security so that I'll be using the internet here. And let's go to the Internet Explorer. And let's say ask me later. And let's do a dev.azure.com. Sign into Azure DevOps. then say enter the ID and etc. I'll just send a notification to myself and accept this out. So I'm accepting this and I'm saying I'm authenticating this out. And I'll say no. I'm into the same thing again, going into let's say the ATM class project, going into let's say the project settings and downloading the agent out. So agent pools, and let's give it a second and let the agent pools load, and I'll basically go ahead and download that particular file here. So going to the test pool, saying agents, new agent, download this file. So this is a zip file that I'm downloading here. I'll say okay, fine, open this folder. This is a folder. I'll extract it out. Now let it take some time. Now one important thing out here, guys, that I want to ask you all is that I want to use this agent to build a .NET Core project and also the ASP Fill Framework project. What do I need on this one? What all softwares you think that I need on this one? VS Code or Visual Studio 2019? Main thing. I also need a Git because the agent needs to download things out. It needs to do Git clone and etc. So let's do that while this is getting extracted. Let's go ahead and download the softwares that we need. I'll say Visual Studio 2019. I'll say download. Sorry, 2019. Is it 22? It's okay, not a problem. It's an updated version. And then I'll go ahead and let's say I'll install full framework. I'll do an installation of full framework also. Okay. But am I not downloading the 2019? I downloaded 22, is it? Let's get this. Let's see what all we do have here. So I'll say ASP.NET and web development, Azure development, and .NET desktop development. Same thing, whatever that we selected, all the workloads basically. And I'll say Visual Studio extension development also. And it's good enough. These are a couple of things that are good enough. I'll say install. That's fine, not a problem. I can install the workload later. So I'm just going ahead and installing all these things out here. And parallelly, since that I also need a framework out here, I'll say download ASP.NET 4.8. Let's go back. Let's go to the official website of Microsoft.com. Let's see. So let's see if I have this. Better ways to see. Let's see. Indeed, download. This is the official site, and Internet Explorer never actually gives you the right result. So that's the reason Google Chrome is like kind of better browser than the Internet Explorer. I'll just say download .NET Framework runtime. I'll say run, install this out. And this is how I install the ASP.NET full framework out here on this particular machine. It says, okay, fine, I have read all this and still, and then go ahead and install this out. And to be on a safer side, I'll also go ahead and install the .NET Core SDK because I also need the SDKs out here. So I'll say .NET Core SDK 3.1 because all my code development was happening in 3.1. Let's come back, launch the right browser. So it's a .NET Core here. Let's go ahead and install this out. It's a Windows, so x64, 64-bit operating system. Agree to the license, install this out. And I'll also go ahead and install the latest one, which is 5.1 also. Fine, so let's come back. So 5.0 is also there, which is the current version. I'll also go ahead and install this SDK. Agree to this and I'll say install this out. Just take a second and I'll go ahead and install this out. So it's done. This is still installing, so let's give it a second and so that it will get installed. So I'm installing the .NET framework and also all the latest versions of .NET Core. And also I'm installing, let's say, the Visual Studio. This will take time because it's a very huge software. So this will take time to install and all. So let's wait for some time for this .NET installation to get done. And after this is installed, I have extracted this folder, right? This is the agent folder. Now what I'm going to do is is that I'll just copy everything. Go into my C drive, just a new folder. I'll say this is agent folder. I'm dedicating a folder to this particular agent, and I'll say this is agent one, and I'm just pasting it out. So everything that I've copied after extraction, I'm just taking it and I'm pasting it out here. So this is still taking time. This is also taking time. Let's see, come back. So this is what is my updated sheet right now. On the Azure, I did an RDB, went into the machine, installed .NET Core 3.1 and 5, 5.0.12, installed ASP.NET Full Framework 4.8. Finally, I have extracted. I've downloaded the agent file and extracted the same. Downloading and extracting the file out here. Let's come back. Sorry. and this will still taking some time. So let's give it a second to go ahead and install this out. And once I've copied everything, I'm not sure why it got shut down. So let's open this out once again. So maybe it went into a restart mode. That's the reason it's like, taking this time. Why is it deleting the machine? Okay, which day is it? Tuesday, right? Oh my, I think that a pipeline is deleting this out in the backend. Like I have a pipeline, I have a release pipeline that is going in. I think that's getting deleted. Let's see if there's a pipeline which is running. I'm not sure why this is getting deleted. It's very strange. Now, yesterday I scheduled this pipeline, but I forgot to undo the schedule, and this is now ending up deleting all my resource groups out right now. So this is the pipeline basically that is responsible for it, which I really didn't know. So I'll have to again create a machine. I'll have to do the entire process again. So let's do that again. That resource group is not usable right now because it's deleting everything. That's what I was like thinking, why it's getting deleted and all that stuff. So from Monday to Friday, I scheduled it around 8:30 a.m. So it started deleting the machine at that point, and it also ended up deleting this out. So let me delete this completely if it's doing that way. And let me start creating back again. So this again that I need to create. So we need to do the steps out here on that particular machine, do an RDP, install all these things out. So let's do that. Let's create the RG. Let's go ahead and create the VM here. Let me say this is agent VM again. It's just two, and I'll say okay, fine. This is a user and password. Again, the same thing. So I'll just create a new network here. Management. I'll just switch the boot diagnostics off, and then basically go ahead and review and create this out. Once I do it, again do an RDP. And this time I won't install Visual Studios. I'll just install the ASP.NET Full Framework and .NET Core Framework out here. But in reality, you'll also have to install Visual Studios also on top of the machine. So this is what happens when you basically schedule a pipeline and forget to port it. So I scheduled the pipeline yesterday for the demo, and I forgot to remove that particular schedule. And it went ahead at 8:30, triggered the pipeline sharply, and deleted all my resource groups out. So let's wait for this to again get created. Let's boot into the machine. Let's do the installation and let's get started. But that was a good demo for scheduled pipelines, right? So any questions still here, guys? What we are doing? I mean, apart from the schedule pipeline, any other questions here? So this is what we are doing out here. Create a pat token. Pat token is ready with me. This is my pat token. And once you refresh the screen, you won't be able to see the pat token again. So please save it somewhere. Then create a virtual machine in Azure, RDP into it, install .NET Core and the required dependencies, download then extract the agent file and run the agent file. Okay, so finally we will have to run the agent file and then configure the agent like the way Microsoft is asking us to configure. Okay, let's do that. Let's basically wait for this machine to get created. So any questions on why we are doing it, or why do we need a self-hosted agent? Anyone online, offline, anyone? Anyone, guys? Anything, any questions still here? Any questions? And is everyone in general able to follow Azure DevOps release? Is anyone in general able to understand what DevOps is? Does anyone have any issues understanding this out? So let me go to the resource group. Let's wait for a second. Let me take the IP. I can do an RDP into this particular machine. And I'll disable the IE enhanced protection out here so that I can download all the binary files here. Say off, and then say okay. Log into dev.azure.com again. Download those files and extract it. And while it's getting extracted, I'll just go ahead and download the .NET Core and the ASP.NET Full Framework. Just accept this out. Go into a project, go into the pool and download that particular agent again. Go into this pool and I'll just basically go ahead and say agents, new agent, and just go download this out. And while this is getting saved and while this is getting extracted, so this will take a second to go ahead and save this out. I'll say open folder. I'll say extract all, and this time let's do one thing. Let's extract it into, let's say, C drive directly. And I'll say new folder. I'll say agent -01. I'll say extract. And while this is getting extracted, let's go ahead and install the .NET Core. So I specifically need the 3.1, right? So I'll say .NET Core 3.1 download. .NET Core 3.1, and I'll basically go ahead and download and install 3.1 and 5.0, both of these things. So let's say OS 64-bit operating system. I'll say run. I'll say install. And while this is getting installed, let me also go ahead and download the 5.0 dependency. So .NET Core 6.0 is the new one, but it's a beta version. It's not recommended really. This is the current version. So again, I'll say this is the runtime that I need to download. I'll say 64-bit operating system. I'll say just give it a second. Yeah, this is done. Let's close this out. I'll say run this out. And let's also go ahead and download the full framework. And let's install the full framework also on this machine. Now, this is where concepts come into play, guys. I have a full framework. I've downloaded the full framework, .NET Core, all these things on this machine. I want 10 machines like this. Do you go ahead, download, do the same installation on all those 10 machines, or what do you do here? Image creation, VM generalization. You generalize this VM and then create images out of this VM so that every virtual machine that's created will have ASP.NET full framework and also .NET Core, and also whatever software that you want to basically establish on top of it. Now, the files have been extracted. All these files have extracted. What I'll do right now is here I'll select the folder and I'll say cmd, opening the command prompt inside this folder, and I'm saying dot backslash config dot cmd. This is the file that I'm doing just a double click on this file. I can also do this in this way, and I'll say enter. It's now telling me what is the link to your Azure DevOps project. It's asking me the URL link, and I'll say okay fine, I'll go here. I'll take the URL. So I'll just take it until this point, or you can also go ahead and take all these things out. Now it's telling like part to just to understand. No. It's saying okay fine, I now want to go ahead and authorize this. Do you have a pad token? I'll say okay, I have a pad token. I'll just say enter. Now it's asking for the pad token. I'll copy my pad token, paste my pad token here, say enter. Okay fine, it's saying page not found. Let's do one thing. Let's go here. Let's only take the URL till here. Say pat. Take my pat. Now it's telling me okay fine, I will register the agent. Which pool do you want to put this agent into? We already have a pool, right? Which is called test pool. I'll just say okay fine, I want to install this agent into something known as a test pool. It's telling what is the name of your agent. I'll say the name of the agent is agent VM -1, first agent. saying, okay, fine, I'm scanning for the tool capabilities and etc. Meaning it's seeing what are the softwares that are installed, how is it installed, what are all basically that you have on this machine, and it's just saying connecting this particular server. It's telling please do an enter for the work folder. I'll say okay, great. This is the folder that I need. Then it's telling enter run agent as a service. Press enter for no. There are two things out here. Agent as a service, agent as interactive. Let's understand what agent as a service really is firstly. So I want to run this agent as a service, and it's saying press enter for n. No, I want, right? So I'll say yes, I want this agent as a service. Now it's saying okay, fine, which account do I need to use? I'll take the default account, and now it's saying okay, fine, scanning this for permissions and etc. And now it says okay, fine, start the service immediately after it's finished. I'll say yes, done. Agent installation is completed. Let's come back and let's refresh this page, and it says agent is offline. It's still getting configured in the backend. So what I will do is that I'll now for now run the agent manually. How do I do it? Do you have a run button here, right? To finish, start later. You have a run button here, right? So I'll just say dot backslash run dot cmd, and I'm running my agent. Saying okay, fine, I'm connecting to the server, listening for the jobs. Agent is online. Agent is online. How do I use this agent right now? Is let's go to our Azure DevOps. Let's say pipelines. Let's say core. Let's say edit this pipeline. And instead of now using the Azure pool, instead of using the Azure pipelines here, I'll say test pool. I'll say, okay, great. Please go ahead and run this on the test pool. Let's say save and run. Now this will use the capabilities, or this will use all the capacity of this particular virtual machine and run my agent here. Since this is the first job, it will take some time to run, but it's very faster than what an Azure agent really offers you. So it's now telling the job is getting requested. It's queued. Now see, it's saying running job agent to job one. It's saying, okay, fine, I'm running this job right now. It will take like a minute or so for this Azure pipeline to understand that you have a self-hosted agent. Now it's saying what? This is what? Agent VM running as what? Test user as the administrator of this particular VM. And it's bound to fail because I have not installed .NET Core. A lot of things basically have not been installed. So let's come here. It says, okay, fine, .NET Core UL right now. So the issue here is that I've not installed Visual Studios at all. If you install Visual Studios, install all the right softwares here and run this agent, your pipeline is going to run. Now, one thing out here, guys, is that I have an agent right now. Can I install another agent on the same machine? Can I? Can't I? I've installed an agent known as agent 1. Can I install another agent on the same machine there? Yes, no, maybe. Yes, let's try that. So here I have something known as an agent 1. I'll say another folder known as agent 2. Doesn't have anything, so I'll just go to the downloads, extract this again into the agent 2 folder. Once extracted, same procedure again. This time the name of the agent is going to be agent VM-02 instead of 01. Where is my agent? Let's go to my agent pools out here. Instead of agent VM1, I'll do an agent VM2 and go ahead and install this out. This is only offline because I'm working on this machine and the service has gone down, I can get the service back again once I've installed the agent 2 out there. So today's assignment is I did one agent. Can you do two? Can you run this agent? So very importantly, please go ahead, do the first three steps out here on Azure DevOps, and make sure to also install Visual Studio 2019, guys. 2019 is a safer option. 2022 is still in preview and etc. Install Visual Studio 2019. Install .NET Core 3.1, 5.0 or something. If you want to install, go ahead and also install 6 and do a .NET Full Framework installation also. And then install the agent out here. And then try to run your pipeline from that particular agent. Let me know if you face any errors there. But don't do one agent, do two agents. Try to install two agents or three agents on one particular virtual machine. See how that is behaving. Okay, now this is very important, guys. If you're not following it, please let me know. I'll do another explanation, not a problem. Now the pipeline only failed because I do not have the right .NET Core. I have to just make sure that I install Visual Studio on top of it and the right .NET dependencies on it. So it could not execute .NET SDK is not installed. It could not find a compatible .NET SDK version. So I'll just have to install the right SDK version on which this particular software is kind of running on. That will help me restore dependencies, build and build whatever I need to do and etc. Okay. Any questions here, guys? Or run on one particular machine? Depends on the capacity of the machine. If it's a 4 CPU, so it all depends upon how much of workload that you're running on top of one agent. It's all about this agent when it's building the code, right? It will use the capacity of that particular machine. So let's say it's a 4G. It's like there's no minimum number. There isn't any minimum number. You can install as many agents as you want, provided your machine is not slow. That's it. So what we do is like we install, okay, fine, 5. We see if the machine is slow. If the machine is slow, we'll just do a scale up. We just increase the size of the machine. Okay. So it depends upon what kind of a jobs you're running. So there's no number. There's no practically there's no number out there. Okay. Any more questions here, guys?
Abhishek, I have a question.
Yeah, please go ahead.
So it is related to deployment slots. So when we want to roll back to the previous code,
Hmm.
we did the redeploy the
Right.
previous pipeline. But when do
Yes.
we use the deployment slots from the app services?
So deployment slots again are, let's say, if you want to make sure that this code, what you're pushing, goes not into the production. You don't want to directly take it to production. In this, what I did is that firstly I took the code to production and I waited for my users to tell me whether the code is working fine or not. If you don't want to do that, if you want to, let's say, achieve absolutely a zero downtime deployment, what you can do out here is you can say that please don't deploy, let's say, onto the app service directly. So this is where we said, okay, fine, push the code into app service. You can go here and say deploy to a slot of the app service, and you can select the slot.
Oh, got it.
Okay, or sorry, not this one, but this one. Let's say, yeah, this one, and select, okay, fine, resource group, and you can give a resource group, and you can say production or testing or staging and etc. So what happens out here is that you can now go ahead and say, okay, fine, please don't deploy it directly to the production. Please deploy it to the staging. We'll test it, and then we'll do a swap, so that this can avoid, let's say, this can this can be a truly zero downtime deployment. So this is where you deploy, or this way you take the code into a slot.
Got it. Abhishek. Thank you.
Any more questions here, guys? Now, see, agents again, you'll have to do a lot of troubleshooting because I need to understand how did I code it, like using what kind of a .NET SDK did I code it, and I'll have to install that particular SDK on my agent machine. But if you're not able to figure out what SDK that you have loaded and etc., the best way is to ask a developer, telling that in which code that you have developed and etc. But for the demo, I would say if the build pipeline is not working, use the release pipeline to basically see if the code is getting released. Because release pipeline really doesn't need any .NET Core and etc. It's just an agent. If you take an agent, try it with the release pipeline. Let me know if that's working. And see, try to do two releases. See whether it's picking up both the agents at the same time. Okay. Let me know if it works and let me know if there are any questions. I'll be more than happy to help. Okay, so any questions that I can take before we close the session today, guys? Anything that we can take today? Job roles and responsibilities. Okay, fine. So all of y'all have probably rolled out the resumes and all of y'all basically are looking out for something. So the, the very question that the HR kind of asks you when they call you is that what are your daily job roles and responsibilities? What are your daily activities and etc. Job roles. Don't say whatever that comes into your mind. Don't do that. Just have 4 5 points here and just juggle those points out here. So what I would do is that I would say the daily roles and responsibilities involves me in configuring CI CD pipelines on Azure or Azure DevOps. If they ask you whether you use a classic editor or YAML, you say both classic and YAML, but mostly classic. They are migrating towards YAML. E, as a DevOps engineer, you support the developers and the operations team. So you can say that having or have a close coordination with the development team to improve our pipelines. 4 is you can also say that hosting daily scrum calls because we are following an agile methodology. So A, you say involving in configuring the daily CI and CD pipelines. B is you can say, okay, fine, we have a close interaction with the development team, hosting the calls or hosting the daily scrum calls because we follow an agile methodology. 5, configuring resources on Azure using ARM or Terraform. 6, finally, say also have an experience on the operation side, wherein configuring alerts and backups for services like virtual machines, app services, etc. using PowerShell. Keep the 6 points. Make sure to alter this out. Make sure to write it in your own sentences. And this is what you need to tell to teacher. Okay, and when one thing very importantly, guys, is that when HR calls, right, don't call her as a sir or a ma'am. Call them with the name. Because in the IT, that's what we follow. Like we don't do sirs, ma'ams, and etc. If it's HR, just ask what's the name. And when they call, just tell yes, I am working right now. And if they ask you for an interview schedule, just say I need to look at my calendar and let you know. Because this is how you establish your genuinity. And there are some people basically who would say who would put in their resume that it's Accenture, but you would say that the notice period is 1 month. The HR will ask you that Accenture generally takes in 3 months. Then why are you telling it's 1 month? It's normally 3 months. You say I'm already serving notice. I'm done with my 2 months. I'm just left with 1 month more, and I'm also under not Accenture but a different payroll company. You can tell that also. Okay. Any more questions here, guys? So do you all want me to paste it in, let's say, the group chat so that you all can take this, or you just take a screenshot of it right away when you're watching the recording? Okay. Okay, guys, have a great day ahead. Please try this out. Let me know if y'all have any issues. Thank you,
Thank you.
guys. Thank you.